Hello and welcome back to Max Black. Do you ever wonder what it takes for workplaces to be able to go across and be successful in implementing their tasks effectively? Well, today I have a couple of experts who are all about making that happen in different environments. Join me in welcoming this incredible panel to Max Black. Welcome today, Michelle Thomas. Hi there, Michelle.
Hello.
Great to see you. And Dr. Lisa Marie Lee. Hi, Dr. Lisa.
Hello. How are you?
Great to see you both. So let's start off with Michelle. Michelle, I know that you are a paralegal and you have a private practice in essence where you go out and you help other law firms be able to work more effectively in terms of the work that they do every day. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of what you do to making sure that law firms actually keep the trains moving on time and get their work out the door?
Yes. What I do on a day-to-day basis, I help attorneys to perform.
Mm-hmm.
And the way I help them to perform is I help them to get their work out the door.
Mm-hmm.
And I help create different documents because time is efficient as to the work to get out the door.
Absolutely, because time is money.
Yes.
Time is money.
Yes.
And I think in many ways, I think of paralegals almost like, you know, I had an episode with nurses on, and I think that oftentimes nurses are really what makes hospitals run. It keeps everything happening. It makes sure that doctors are more effective in what they do. And I see the work that paralegals do is absolutely essential to make sure that lawyers can get the things done that they need to do in their practices. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, I do agree with that.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And so could you explain to us exactly what you do, Doc?
I help to create effective, safer, and inclusive work environments.
Awesome. And how do you do that?
I do that by going in and evaluating why work processes may not be effective within businesses and collaborating with them to determine solutions that are effective.
Good point. Now, I think that oftentimes it's sometimes obvious in work environments when things aren't effective, when things aren't efficient, when things are taking too much time, for example, to actually elapse. It's not so easy to determine exactly why that's the case all the time or what to do about it, right? So in terms of, you know, when somebody breaks the glass in case of emergency and calls you, what are some of the most challenging situations that you find happens in the workplace that keeps things gummed up instead of flowing effectively?
I'd have to say people's unwillingness or fear of saying that there may be issues within a workplace, and then also biases within the workplace, which is why it's important to have someone come in from the outside to help navigate through that.
Got it. Understood. And in terms of when law practices call on you, what do you think are some of the biggest challenges that keeps them from being able to sort of get through their caseload effectively? And what can they do to help you help them better? You know, I'm sure that you can help them if they are able to provide you with everything that you need in a more organized and effective way. What's the best way that someone can utilize your services and make sure that it really comes out on their behalf much better in the long end?
Well, to get the information up front, we need all information. When anything is missing, like a client intake, for instance. If something's missing, then it takes a whole lot more time to go and have to make phone calls to see who has this information, where can we find this information in order to get the case moving. So it's very important to get all the information up front in order to get the case moving along.
Yeah, so getting things up front is so important because now you can keep the train moving a little bit faster, yeah?
Yes.
Right. Now, in terms of some of the work that you do, Doc, with organizations, and you go in there and you're helping to sort of maybe have some very difficult conversations to get to the root of the problem, what would you suggest that companies do in order to be able to ferment a culture that allows for courageous conversations, that allows for tackling difficult issues, but do it in a way that people feel comfortable in those moments? Is that possible?
I think it's possible. I think the real key is for organizations to ensure that they are trusted, that employees do trust them. And that comes from really being honest from the beginning and holding people accountable when there are issues, and really just listening.
What do you suggest that companies do in order to create that environment for listening? Because I think oftentimes, people are in the sort of mode of getting things done. It's very sort of deadline-driven sort of culture, oftentimes, particularly in corporate spaces. And some people who aren't as thoughtful about what it really takes to lead might even think of the whole creating a safe space to listen almost like a waste of time. Maybe it's sort of slowing down the process. What would you say to convince people who may think that way, that actually this is a good investment to help efficiency in the future?
I think that people need to realize that employees and managers or supervisors in a company as a whole, it's really just a relationship. And to think of it in that way, and instead of just a give and take type of situation. And that definitely helps to build on trust, as I said, and make it a lot more understandable and relatable to everyone's experiences.
I hear you. Now, I'm hearing trust as a huge thing here. And do you see that as something very important with what you do?
Absolutely. In the legal field, trust is definitely very important. There's ethics with legal.
Yes.
So we definitely, whoever law firms hire, they have to trust their employees. Because we have valuable information, everything from a social security number,
Yes.
everything on a person's life, we have that information.
Yes.
Even if you know the actual person, ethics, you cannot speak on that. You can't say, I know this person. And you cannot tell a family member or a friend, if you know that person, they cannot even know that that you're working for that firm.
Right.
So trust is very important when it comes down to the legal practice.
Absolutely. Trust and confidentiality.
Yes, absolutely. Confidentiality. Yes.
Absolutely. So, Dr. Lisa, I'd love to hear about one of the most rewarding experiences that you've had working with a company that maybe when they contacted you, it was a very just disastrous potentially situation, but you helped to lead them to the promised land, so to speak. What was that like?
It was fulfilling. It was just a joy, because my overall goal is just to create a safe and happy place where people can do what they love. And if you're not able to do what you love, then you're not living at your highest potential. So even the environment is suffocating. You feel it. And so to be able to go back and witness and feel that lightness of the environment and of the workplace, and even people smiling and finding ways to just be warm and welcoming to each other. It's just the whole experience that comes with it.
I love it. And for you, what do you think has been one of the most rewarding experiences that you've had in your business over the years?
I can speak on my present right now. I mean, I've done this over 35 years in the legal field. But my present client right now, they're a new law firm. So what I'm helping them to do is just get established and move their cases. And for me to see what all they need, I'm like, wow, I'm the strategist, so this is what you do. So it's been amazing. It's been an amazing journey, just seeing this is what's new and what's about to really happen for other law firms as to what I have to offer.
I love that. And I love that you're working with a brand new firm, because to me, getting started right is so much easier than going back and fixing something that may have been broken for years.
Yes, that's very true.
Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, I do agree to that.
So what sort of tips would you give someone who's just starting their law practice? What sort of tips would you give them to make sure that they're starting out on the right foot, and how they can definitely look for someone like you to make sure that they're on the straight and narrow?
Well, first of all, to be okay with virtual. Some law firms, they're used to you being in the office. But once you trust that person, as we talked about earlier, you can go outside of the person being physically in the building.
Yeah.
So once they do that, to trust the person that they're hiring outside the office, then they will see it can be done.
Absolutely.
Although they're not in the physical building.
Absolutely. And that also, I would imagine, opens up new lanes for you in terms of potential clients.
Yes, it does.
And finally, Dr. Lisa, so, companies have committed to investing more in DE&I efforts, specifically after the murder of George Floyd, but many of them actually haven't followed through with making sure that those investments pay off. What would you suggest that they do in terms of really changing the workplace for the better?
I'd say they need to just start justifying where their money's going. A lot of companies say that they want to implement these types of training, but research has shown that they don't even evaluate where the dollar's going, whether there's actual change in behavior. And if you're not tracking that, how can you say that you truly want change?
I hear you. So you're saying don't just throw money at it.
Yes.
Actually make sure that you invest with individuals like you who can bring about real change in the workplace.
Yes.
Is that safe to say?
Correct.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining us today, ladies.
Thank you for having me.
It's been my pleasure. And thanks for joining us on Max Black.